and welcome to another episode of the Gayla Scrivener Show. Boy, over the past several weeks, it's been quite a roller coaster. My husband Robert and I have been on a month-long journey living out of our 1998 Jeep Wrangler with a rooftop tent. We have explored areas of Oklahoma, New Mexico, Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and Kansas that we've never seen before. We've been in some pretty remote places. We've also been on some pretty questionable four-wheel drive forest roads, but we made it. Our destination was to volunteer at a huge overlanding event, Overland Expo West, and it's held outside of Flagstaff, Arizona, every year in the spring. This year, they had over 22,000 in attendance. I couldn't believe the numbers when I saw it on social a few days after the event. Robert and I helped with checking in attendees and other guest relations stuff. And I have to say, I truly admire how the organizers can put an event of such size together. It takes a lot of work, a lot of planning, and a heck of a lot of organization. With so many attendees, vendors, volunteers, not to mention what could happen with the weather in an outdoor event like this, there is bound to be something that doesn't go as planned. From my perspective, I think they do a fantastic job navigating through the challenges. The Overland Expo is held twice a year. One in the west in the springtime, the one that we attended just now, and the other one in the east in the fall. Each year, for the past several years, Robert and I take off at least 3 to 5 weeks to travel slowly toward and then slowly back home again from these expo events. These travel times become our workcations. We do work along the way, and we do some vacationing on our weeks being gone. We've learned a lot since the very first time we hit the road for our month-long trek, and we are still learning. If you choose to have a work-from-anywhere lifestyle, there will be challenges. In episode 60, I talked about internet connectivity challenges. And then last week's episode, number 61, it was all about keeping devices powered. This week, our work from anywhere challenge is schedule. Not everyone aspires to have an overlanding lifestyle like my husband Robert and I have. Overlanding is basically vehicle-based travel. We live out of our vehicle, seeking adventure in remote and out-of-the-way spots. We primarily like the thrill of the journey. We become nomadic. There's different uncertainty and more challenges in this type of nomadic lifestyle than staying home in a regular stick and brick home. And the nomadic lifestyle can not only just be, like what Robert and I do in a very small vehicle with a rooftop tent, but also RV lifestyle. At Overland Expo West, Robert and I were camped next to Dean Shirley of East Coast Overland. He jokingly said more than on one occasion, overlanding, where you spend a lot of money to appear homeless. Well, there's some truth to that statement in a way. Vehicle-based travel may not be your thing, but you may aspire to travel often, staying in hotels, condos, or wherever it is that you want to enjoy. You want to enjoy a different part of the country or a different country altogether and that culture. Or maybe your work from anywhere dream is working at home and being there to raise your kids. And that is a wonderful thing too. Quite frankly, creating a schedule is important in any one of those cases. Creating a schedule and a routine is important for any entrepreneur. When you have a traditional day job, you work for someone else, obviously. You must report to work at the designated times that they specify. Most of the time, things are just more structured for you. You have a designated time to go to lunch, a designated time to have breaks, and you have a set time that you're released to go home. To keep your job, you must, at a minimum, show up at the designated times you're scheduled, right? Now, of course, I'm oversimplifying here, but I do believe you understand what I'm saying. You've got to at least show up to get paid for the job that you're doing. Then many folks jump out of employment right into entrepreneurship wanting more freedom. And they think that more freedom equals less structure. On the contrary, to be successful and to grow your business to the heights that you desire and that you want, you must create a discipline of structure and a schedule. This is true whether you have a work from anywhere business or even a brick and mortar business. As an entrepreneur, you have to be even more diligent with your schedule. I have been working with an individual, kind of on the cusp, who just can't seem to get the fundamental aspect of scheduling down. I worked with her on and off for the past, few years, and the conversations that I have with her always seem to be the same. She's all over the place. She has her schedule run by everyone else around her, and she doesn't run or manage her own schedule. For example, on any given morning, she may wake up and decide to go to a networking meeting, and that may take place, mid-morning. Then about 30 minutes before that meeting, and she's ready to go to it, she gets a call asking to meet up for an appointment, and that person calling her was hoping that she was available right that minute. Instead of whipping out her schedule to see when she's truly available, she'll typically meet with that caller at any time that they ask, which is right then, instead of pre-planning and being prepared. She's done this for years, and she's always complains that she feels disorganized and out of sorts, and she's run ragged. She misses other appointments because she might have written something down that's in the future, but she never refers to it. She can't see herself coming nor going. Her scatteredness has made her not advance her business. She has trained her clients that she is available at any time of day that they want her, whatever time of day that may be. And she keeps saying that she's going to create a schedule. But so far, in all the years that I've known her, she tries for about a week and then she falls into the old habits. She's in this in-between state that she is so worried about losing a client, and quite frankly, she needs the money right then and there, that when she tries to plan and schedule business building activities that would truly keep the doors open of her business, she drops that in favor of seeing the random client. Then she panics when clients aren't calling anymore and filling up her day. And then she runs around almost grasping at straws. By the looks of it, she does appear busy, but she's not very productive. She's all over the place, like I said. Left to our own devices, it's our nature as humans to find the easiest route or procedure to do anything we do. It's easier to sit still than it is to exert any effort. It takes discipline to exert effort in anything. We tend to want to stay comfort in our routine that we've set for ourselves. Routine and schedule is almost the same thing, but routine is more ingrained and automatic. Adhering to a schedule takes thought and planning. It takes effort and discipline. Finding a schedule that works for you to be highly productive takes effort. And that effort also can become uncomfortable for a period of time until it becomes routine. When you work that traditional day job, it becomes routine to get up at a certain time, get ready at a certain time, leave the house at a certain time so that you may arrive to work at the specific clock-in time that's designated for you. You are keeping an appointment with your employer just to show up. When you shift to work for yourself, then you must keep appointments with yourself to be productive. For some reason, this is so much harder. Keeping appointments with others seems much easier, But when it comes to keeping appointments with ourselves, we tend to push ourselves to the back burner. It takes much more discipline to keep appointments with ourselves. The distractions that we have in our daily lives divert our attention, and we convince ourselves that the outside distractions are more important than what we have had planned. Sometimes maybe something does come up that we must rearrange our schedule, but more often than not, we simply don't keep the appointments we make with ourselves. Working from home, there are a ton of distractions that steal our time. You have things blaring at you and find yourself doing things like laundry and dishes. Kids are needing you. Spouses need help with something. Dad calls with questions. Mother-in-law wants to chat. All these distractions during the time you had planned on working on your business. Before you know it, poof, the day is gone. And for some reason, when you transition from working a traditional day job to working from home, others seem to think that suddenly you have all this time in the world. Now that you don't have to clock into that day job, folks can call and chat with you at any time of the day they want. You can run errands and do whatever any time that you want. If you are trying to grow your own business, you must begin to set boundaries and create discipline for yourself. Create a schedule. Then, when you work from anywhere, there's even more distractions than a work from home scenario. There's the distractions of scenery and new places that you just are dying to explore. And that's even harder sometimes. When Robert and I travel for a month, most people think that it is such a long time. But to us, it is a very, very short amount of time. And we've been traveling too many miles to really make the long-term work from anywhere scenario work for us as we'd like. Our month-long travels have been more workcations. Like I said before, workcations are blending work and vacations within the travel time. This is different than what we truly want to do. We truly want to be on the road full time, 6 months to a year or even more at one time, and blending our work and our travel time, even more so than what we do now. In order to do this and work full time during our travels, we have to slow way, way down. The trip that we just returned from, we traveled about 3,900 miles, and that's about 130 miles per day. And that may sound slow for some, but really it isn't. You see, when you work from anywhere and you are being nomadic like Robert and I are, you must stay still for a period of time to put in the work time that you really need to. You begin to create a travel and a work schedule. The things like weather come into play that may divert your schedule, but that's another story entirely. If you are traveling for a short time, then focus on travel and enjoyment. Sure, you may be able to slip in some little bit of work here and there, but maybe catching up on things like emails, if you're traveling down the road or on an airplane, cleaning out that dreaded inbox, that's a good thing to do as you're traveling. Perusing and engaging on your favorite social media platform. Catching up on listening to podcasts. But the best thing to do when you're traveling and in motion is maybe plan and organize yourself. When we were on the go, I did a lot of planning for upcoming projects. The seemingly idle time of going down the road isn't so idle, and it doesn't have to be idle time. Not always could I write or have my computer up and running and on my lap as we were going down the road. You see, I get car sick. I used to get much more car sick than I do now, and I couldn't do anything but sleep or just look at the road. But I have conditioned myself to be able to work on some things while in the passenger seat of the Jeep. It's taken a bit of work and experimenting so that I could figure out what I could do and what I shouldn't do in order to avoid being car sick. And like I said, it takes work and experimentation. But I have been able to incorporate some tasks while going down the road, which makes me more productive. I have to really listen to my body to know when enough is enough before getting sick. But mainly, I'm good on straight roads. And when the roads become curvy, that's when I must look straight ahead and put everything away. Now I've added some time in my schedule during travel to do some things when traveling down the road. So let's talk some more about schedule. At home, you get into a routine. You develop a schedule to get the work you need done. You develop office hours. You develop meeting days. You create the discipline to be at work when you need to be at work. It can be difficult at home, especially if you don't have a designated place to go to work. Much of the time, if you're able to create a space that is designated just for work, it really does help. It helps you because you are separating yourself physically so that you can mentally be at work. Many people will have a room or even a basement dedicated for the office. You can organize it and make it the space of your office. You have a door that you can close. That's amazing. You can even put a sign on that door to let people, mainly family members, know that you shouldn't be disturbed. You can create those boundaries and adhere to those office hours because you can physically go to this space. But what if you don't have the space or even have a separate office? What if you use your dining room table? What if you live in a small place? Robert and I, when we aren't traveling in our Jeep, our small space is our 38-foot motorhome. We have a little footprint that we call our office. And there's no doors, there's no partition, nothing. When our office time is over, that space becomes our living room. That space also serves as part of our kitchen. Then when we are traveling in our Jeep, for me, sitting in the passenger seat up in the rooftop tent or outside in my camp chair becomes my office. The passenger seat is also an area of fun and discovery as we ride down the road. The rooftop tent is also where we sleep. Outside in the camp chair, well, it's outside, and that's a place to enjoy and relax. So to work in small places or work from anywhere, you have to switch your mind over to work mode. And without having a specific space for that, sometimes that's a little bit, that's easier said than done. And it's good to have a schedule so that you can develop a routine in when to work and when to have fun. I was super pleased to be able to attend a class at Overland Expo presented by Eric Hyland of Jeepsies. That's Jeepsies. It's kind of a play on words on Jeep and Gypsies. I'm going to have a link in the show notes to that website. But Eric and his wife, Brittany, have been living and working on the road full-time since 2014. They have been full-time nomads for years now, and I was super excited to learn from them. They have a smaller RV that is basically their home base, and their Jeep with their rooftop tent is their roaming vehicle. They have their work and play schedule. Their work is primarily internet-based marketing, working with some long-term clients. They also have speaking opportunities about their experiences, and over time, they have created different streams of income to sustain their lifestyle. But it doesn't happen without creating schedules and a plan. I loved a lot of what Eric had to say, but one of the things that he addressed is creating a routine and adhering to a schedule. And that allows him and Brittany to create more freedom in their lives. I believe this as well. Some people believe that schedules stifle freedom. Not at all. When you create schedules and be full-on devoted to the time that you have within that schedule, you are more focused and will have much more time on your hands to enjoy. I know that when I only have so much time so much battery life on my computer before I need to plug in and charge up. I turn off distractions and I focus on tasks at hand. Eric had created a work schedule to work on his computer from 7 a.m. to noon. Then, from noon to 4, he's available via phone to his clients. His mornings are focused on computer time. His afternoons, he may be more flexible with his activities that he's doing, but he's also available for his clients to answer questions or checking in when he needs to. Being nomadic full-time allows them to travel at a snail's pace if they want. I see that Robert and my month-long travel isn't exactly at a snail's pace that we would like. We've designed our trips to have a destination in mind and be there at a certain time, then return home at a certain time. Therefore, our travels are more workcations, blending work and vacation at the same time. Our schedule, quite honestly, is a little bit more chaotic, but there is a schedule. We learn and are practicing each and every time we travel how to develop our work and travel schedule. To blend, making sure that we have enough power and internet to work on projects that we need to. You've heard me talk about time blocking before. I'm a huge advocate of it, but exactly what is the best schedule for you is a personal choice. I believe that we all fall into a routine that serves us well in the past, but over time, that routine has placed us in a rut. That's why I love our workcations that Robert and I go on at least twice a year. Our normal schedule is just shaken up. I get stressed out, quite frankly, but that's okay. My stress allows me to think differently. I get stressed about thinking about all the things that I must do. I get stressed because we aren't sitting still long enough to get things done. I get stressed because not everything is working as smoothly, like the weather changes and the internet connection isn't working like I wanted it to. And the solar is just terrible because it's a cloudy day, so we can't power everything as efficiently. And I just don't feel right. I just get stressed out. By getting out of my normal routine and being challenged with overland travel, I have learned new skills of gaining focus in the out of the ordinary situations. I have learned to think differently. I try new routines and find things that work and other things that don't work for me. I like to hear what works for others and try them out. I encourage you to do that as well. If you are frustrated with the results you're getting in your productivity right now, you should shake things up in your schedule. Try something new and don't just give it a week. Really jump into it and get into new habits. Habits are formed after a good long time of repeated behavior. While on the road, I also read Dan Kennedy's book, No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs. I like Dan Kennedy. He's pretty much to the point, and as his book series indicates, he dishes things out without any BS. His productivity practices may be out of the ordinary for many of us, but hey, it works great for him, and he's able to be highly productive. That's why his advice is worth listening to. He's not one who likes to travel. Now that he's grown his business to a level where he doesn't have to travel, he has people come to him. He can avoid the time it takes to travel. He adheres to a strict schedule that works perfectly for him. He also takes away much of the most distractions as possible. One of the things he addressed was not being distracted in his work by taking incoming calls. All his calls are scheduled. He has coaching calls that he does on a particular day of the month, scheduled and timed. He recommends having scheduled calls because this allows you to give full attention to the person on the call. You can pull up info or prepare for whatever it is that you're going to be calling on. In his example, he describes that he has time to pull up any info that he may need for the call. It gives the caller time to prepare for the call and gather up their thoughts, a list of talking points. Both parties are able to be prepared, making the ultimate use of the time on the call. And it's very effective for both. He also has regular calls with his assistant, who, by the way, is across the country from him. He doesn't talk with her numerous times of the day. Instead, the calls are at prescribed times, allowing each of them to be organized in what they want to cover. The calls are scheduled and timed. The calls are routine, and they are productive. Mr. Kennedy describes that when his work is interrupted by a call, he isn't giving the caller his full attention. So that's a disservice to both of them. And he's not giving the task that he's doing his full attention. When interrupted, he'll lose time in getting back into the task that the call interrupted. This makes a lot of sense. Most of us solopreneurs doing everything ourselves, being the receptionist for our business and the doer of literally everything, we need to be even more aware of what our schedule should be. One of my clients that I've retained for the longest time, I admire. We really work well together. And I believe one of the reasons is because of our weekly Friday morning calls. Over the past 5 or so years, we have had our Friday morning call. We do communicate through the week via Slack, but some things are better communicated by talking it through than by instant messaging. Out of all the Fridays over the past 5 or so years, we've only missed very, very few, and those are pre-planned misses, usually for traveling or a seminar that one of us is attending, and we know way in advance. Our routine Friday morning calls helps keep us organized and accountable on the projects that she delegates to Scrivener Solutions. She keeps accountable with the things that she needs to deliver to me or my team in order for us to do our part. My team and I are held accountable because we have a better understanding of the tasks to be completed and the deadlines. I have regular weekly meetings with each of my staff on the Scrivener Solutions team for the same reason. We need to stay in touch. It helps keep us organized and helps us prioritize. The calls also help with expectations. Now, not all of our clients with Scrivener Solutions have a regular organized meeting, but I have to say, my advice, if you're going to delegate to anyone, regular prescribed meetings, whether it's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or whatever, get it on the calendar, have it scheduled, helps tremendously with productivity. You have time to organize your thoughts as to what you would like done. You can also place a deadline on yourself to get some things to a point where you could hand it off and delegate. A scheduled meeting also allows the person that you delegate to be more prepared with questions and so forth. It holds both people accountable. Being better with your schedule, with yourself, is a great foundation to being able to delegate tasks later. The better you build your foundation, the bigger and better your business will grow. Now, are you working a day job right now and you wish you could work from anywhere? Start by changing up your schedule. Where will you block time on your schedule for your work from anywhere business? Is it setting aside an hour each and every morning before you need to get ready to go to work, writing a blog post? Does that mean getting up earlier in the morning? Yes. Does that mean it's going to be hard to get up and muster the energy to get out of bed an extra hour early? Well, it sure will. It's easy to hit that snooze bar and miss that appointment with yourself. Changing your schedule will get you out of your comfort zone. But what's important is teaching yourself the discipline of working for yourself. You will learn more discipline in becoming more productive by keeping appointments with yourself to do what you've got on your schedule. My poor, disorganized, frazzled friend that I mentioned earlier, she keeps hovering at the same frantic pace and not building her foundation for growth. Our schedules help create this foundation of productivity. My latest month-long overland trip has given me the energy to change up my schedule. I've also learned that I have so much work to do to make it better while we're traveling. Robert and I agree that our travel time should be longer, traveling at even a slower pace. If we are to go to any events and want to attend, then it's best to take longer time to get there and longer time to come back and establish a better work from anywhere routine. Or just make it a vacation and schedule that time and get out there and come back. But ultimately, we're going to be traveling a lot longer time frame. Becoming a master of your schedule does take experimentation in any circumstance. But when you create a work from anywhere business, schedule becomes even more important. How you manage your schedule allows you to become super focused, more productive, and creates the freedom to experience the places and events in your life that you really want to enjoy. To radically shake up your schedule, I highly recommend Dan Kennedy's No BS Time Management book. I'll have a link in the show notes for you. Now, if you've read it before or after you've read it, have you implemented any of his suggestions? Why or why not? Feel free to send me an email at info@scrivenersolutions.com with your comments and insights about the book. I'd love to hear from you. And that's info@scrivenersolutions.com. Now, if you'd like to talk about organizing your time and preparing yourself to delegate tasks for your small business, I encourage you to schedule a 30-minute call with me by going to gaylascrivener.com/schedule. And that's Gayla, GAYLASCRIVENER.com/schedule. I'd love to hear from you, so let's get on the schedule. Now, until next time, I wish you a fantastic week.